let's shift gears real hard and go to the Sanders subreddit today, because I think white people understand this, and they understand, white people who like Bernie, they understand the economics of it. They understand that the communities have been gutted for because of bad trade deals, but there's this huge disconnect in the ability to communicate in a non-condescending way. And I'm gonna pass it to one of you guys to set it up, and then we'll go around and talk about it today, because it's something, the perfect example of what the biggest challenge for Bernie Sanders is, besides the establishment, actually took place in real time on the Sanders subreddit today. Who wants to explain what actually happened?
I nominate Anoa to answer that question.
Okay, brother, I feel the love, I feel the love. So, okay, so I know someone asked in the chat about what are we talking about. So in the Sanders for President subreddit, we have the Progressive Army, the Benjamin Dixon Show, has a week long, I think it was 8 days. Today was day 4, Justice Week. So look into Sanders. We can drop a link in the chat, or look for it on Twitter. But anyway, today we're talking about workers' rights. It's just a series. We're looking at, the platform. We're all answering questions and chiming in. You guys can post your questions. We're posting, tidbits and information. So basically on the subreddit, in a different portion of the Sanders for President subreddit, there was a post made by a black man who supports Bernie Sanders, who said, I support Bernie Sanders, but basically I don't get along with his supporters because you're all condescending and it's hard interacting with white people. There was some vulgarity, there was some other stuff, and it was a litany of complaints about trying to be active and engaged, primarily on the Reddit site and that subreddit thread in general. So now, the responses, though, I think at some point maybe one of the moderators like kind of took down part of his comment or something, and Solomon can correct me on that one. But the comments, though, and the pushback he got, in terms of everybody took it personally instead of listening and taking for what it was worth. So, like, I commented, we kind of got asked will we comment since we were doing our other thing on our subreddit, but like, my comment was more about how we need to have balance in this conversation. Like, on the one hand, I do think if you're like expressing a grievance and want to be taken seriously, I don't think like generalizing and blasting everybody and cursing at them is really the way to go. However, I absolutely understand the frustration, because I can't speak for the guys, but I know I personally, and no matter how many different spaces I've been in since we've been doing this work, I started doing this in June, July, in terms of Bernie Sanders. There has been so much pushback as an admin of groups where I've had to put people out for violating space. I've been cursed out, I've been chewed out. I mean, all types of. And these are white people who just feel they are entitled to any and all space related to Bernie Sanders. They come, it's like locusts in some ways, who take over groups. Like, I help run. Well, no, seriously. And I'm only speaking for myself, not speaking for any of my co-admin on any of the pages and groups I'm in, but. Different groups have their rules of engagements. I've been in, there are several groups out there that have their specific rules, their specific posting guidelines and requirements. And with African Americans for Bernie Sanders, I'm going to just put it out there. We have people who come in there and they just dump whatever they want. They think, oh, these are the black people. We'll say whatever we want to say. We'll put whatever we want to put in there. There are very specific rules and guidelines. And people get really upset. They fly off the handle. But then they'll direct message you. They're very indignant, as if they're entitled to your space. Or if you try to correct someone, or even ask questions about why something is there, or how does this even help the process, right? Because a lot of us have an understanding of what the big picture is. We need to be getting out the vote. You can post all your I hate Hillary memes all you want to. That's great. But there are certain spaces where that's prohibited. Why? Because we are trying to grow and build support amongst black people for Bernie. I mean, we can't do that if you're just dumping crap everywhere and you don't understand how to even connect with people. And when we're trying to give you information or feedback about how that works, if you're like, well, it's your job as a black, wait, it's my job as what? As who? Like, see, that's where you done messed up. And that was one of the comments I responded to on that thread. Like, I guess they wanted us to kind of go in there and kind of help cool it all down. I don't really know that any of us really touched it, but I responded to one. The one I responded to was in response to the dude who did the post, and he was like, well, it's your job as a Black Bernie supporter to make sure other Black people, huh? It's our job as Black Bernie supporters to do what? What is wrong with you?
And
But let's be clear. Let's be clear. This is not a Bernie Sanders issue. This is a white liberal, white progressive issue. We have had issues with white progressives and white liberals going back to slavery. Let's just be real. Lincoln didn't free the slaves because he was like, oh, Black people are equals and my friends, and I really want to free them. No. I mean, originally he wanted to send our black cells right on back to Africa. Frederick Douglass and others had to fight with him to get as much as we did get during that time in the Civil War. So let's just be real. And there were just so many battles. So this is a centuries old issue.
Right.
I mean, Hillary Clinton. I mean, we done got enough issues with Hillary Clinton. I've talked about it before. I've had white Hillary women tell me that I owe them for suffrage, among other things. I just got called a Bernie bro today with some other derogatory statements earlier today, late last night. So there are issues across the board. It's not just the Republicans that have issues.
Here's a difference, Noah, that I want to point out, though, is that on the Hillary equation, right, you have the Black establishment that is covering for her. Right? They are actively preventing these narratives from forming when they have these same exact problems taking place inside of their camp. And that's what pisses me off, is that on the Bernie, it pisses me off, but I also see an opportunity, right? On the Bernie side, you have nothing but an opportunity to fix it because it is just laid bare, right? No one is covering it up. Everyone is exposing it from Hillary's side, from within, like, right? Because to be honest with you, I told them I'm not going to comment on this until the original comment is restored, because I am not your fire extinguisher, right? Also I thought the conversation could have been very, very, very productive, because this is the only side of the equation that's actually having a legitimate conversation about the difficulties that African Americans and white progressives have. On the other side, they are trying to paint this narrative that Hillary's camp has got it all figured out, and they know exactly how to communicate with Black people, and they know exactly what the real problem is. The real problem, according to Hillary, is systemic racism and cultural racism, but nobody ever talks about the fact that she contributed to creating that problem, right? So you have the Black establishment that is just coddling covering up all of the things that they have going on in that camp, and the problems are festering and just as repugnant on that side as any other side. Now, that doesn't negate the fact that there's problems on the Sanders side. And I did a video a long time ago, and I got the worst rating I've ever gotten on YouTube was when I said that the Sanders problem in the summer, I said Sanders is going to have to find a way to unify the Reddit vote and the Black vote. I used that exact language, and people got mad and said, oh, like there's no such thing as Black Reddit users.
Apparently there's not, from the comments today.
I am a prophet if I'm nothing else. I prophesied that was going. I predicted. I saw in a crystal ball that was going to be the exact problem that he was going to face, and that was the exact problem that we saw today. And it is a problem, but it's also an opportunity. And I didn't want to comment, and I didn't comment at all. But I wasn't going to comment until they restore the original question and let that conversation be organic. Let it happen, because it has to happen, and they have to see their failings, and they have to see where they were wrong on both sides, like you said, Noah, both sides. Go ahead.
We can't put a Band-Aid on it either. Like, we can't pretend and try and cover it up and sing Kumbaya, because everyone just say, well, that not all Bernie supporters, and I try. Look, save me the white tears today, okay? Like this is going to kick it to you real straight, all right? There are. You know, it's like I don't remember if it's Malcolm X or what it was. It's like, you know, is there ever, it's Malcolm X. Is there ever a time where a white person has helped your people? Hey, look, we don't got time for conversations like that, all right? Like, I'm not interested in coddling you. I'm not really, just use common sense. Think about the tone and the way you're speaking to people. Like, I really refuse to believe that we have to have some type of impromptu racial sensitivity conversation every time we need to engage amongst supporters. Like, that just seems ridiculous to me. Just think about how you're speaking to another grown-up. Like, do you talk to, and if you talk to people in your family that way, you should be smacked, because it's rude and it's disrespectful.
I said, are you, say, hey, Hey, okay, you better go, from your mommy gets mad at me. Get to bed. I asked these people, and they were, they thought I was trying to be a troll. And I was like, no, legitimately, are you in a relationship? Are you in a healthy relationship? Because if you're in a healthy relationship, then you should know that you cannot speak to another human being like this and expect to ever get your point across. And I think what's happening is that it's a lot of young people. I don't want to blame it on age only, but
well,
it takes
old
time.
people too.
It takes time. It takes time to grow into this wisdom. And if you never have this type of confrontation, you could be a 50, 60-year-old person who is doing the same exact mistakes. All right, guys, I have somebody who's been so patient, and I want to get their input, and then